Hi and welcome to Geeks for Geeks. I am Siddharth Hazra. I'm an SD at Geeks for Geeks. Besides that, I'm also a candidate master at Code Forces and an ACM ICPC regionalist. And today we would be discussing the problem find the nth character. So I would just tell you the solution beforehand. The solution lies in the constraint. Okay, just see if you were not able to solve the problem, take this as a hint and then go back to the problem. Now I hope you have tried up. If you were not able to succeed, like if you didn't succeed solving it, no worries, I would give you the proper intuition to solve it. Let's start off. So here you are given a binary string. Okay, you are given a binary string. What do you mean by binary string? A string that consists of only zeros and ones. Then let's say the binary string here is 1 1 0 0. Now you are told to do some operation. Let's say you need to do the operation 2 times. And what would be that operation? After the operation is done, 1 needs to be converted to 1 0 and 0 needs to be converted to 0 1. Am I correct? Yep. So you need to do this operation 2 times. So now let us try to see the answer of it. And then you would be asked the nth character of this. So we have 1 1 0 0. Okay. Now 1 would be converted to 1 0 and this 1 would be converted to 1 0 and this 0 would be converted to 0 1 and this 0 would be converted to 0 1. But we know that this side would never be asked, only the size of the element earlier is important to us. So we would remove this side. We are done with the first processing. Okay, let's talk about second processing. So now 1 would be converted to 1 0 again. 0 will be converted to 0 1. Second processing is also done. We won't, whenever we have the length of the string that is asked, we won't do anything more. Simple enough. So the number of operations would always be 10 to the power 3 if in the worst scenario, and we just need to do 20 operations. Okay, now we would be asked the third index. Okay, we know till this point only this would be the ask, and we would just return 1. So the key takeaway from this is, don't overcomplicate a given solution. First, think of brute force, try to optimize it. If you are not able to optimize it, then move to some algorithmic approach. If the algorithmic approach is not working, then go to some data structure approach, like try and all, segment trees and all. Then go to those. No? You shouldn't overcomplicate, directly think of DP or something, directly think of bit masking. This is not really required for a simple problem like this. Okay, so if the problem can be solved in a simple manner, like if a problem of prefix sum can be solved using segment trees also, but segment tree would be overkill for that. Okay, so the idea lies that how you can solve the problem in a simple manner and in an efficient manner. Efficiency with simplicity is also important. Okay, and you won't clutter your brain with some advanced algorithmic stuff. Like you learned about dynamic programming or KMP algorithm and everywhere you're just trying to slit that. Don't try to think that. No? This is all about, at the end of the day, this is problem solving and those are just the tools. Okay, so this is the idea. And you also need to just consider the constraints also. Like, एक होता है ना, जितना पूछा जाए उतना ही करना है. Okay, this is the good sign. Okay, you don't overkill a program. That is why you look at the constraints also. Like, yes, constraints are also important. Let's see if we can simplify our thought by seeing some constraint. Kaise? Constraint, like this is valid for this program, said that. How is constraint valid? If there is any problem and the constraints are less than equal to 20, then most probably this question is of recursion or backtracking. Why? Because 2 to the power 20 is less than 10 to the power 5. So constraints give you an idea what can be used. Okay, you won't go in the wrong direction. You know what is feasible and what is not feasible. So constraints are very much important. So people who are greatly active on platforms like GeeksforGeeks or LeetCode, they don't really see these constraints. So they should also have, like, I'm not talking about the majority, but still there are some peoples who don't really look at the constraints. So from here on, just keep an eye over constraints also, and then start thinking. Okay. So we won't exceed the computation of length n, and at the end we would just return that index. Just this idea. So what we would do now? Okay. So now see, we would be making a temporary variable, that is string t. Why we are making that? Because see, just implementing what is given. Okay. We are looking at this given string and then trying to build this. So we would keep this string. Okay, we would keep the last one string, and from this string we would build the string. That is why t is nothing, but from the given s we would build the t. Okay, so and now we would perform the number of operation as r times. We would do r modifications. Okay, so first we would reset the t, because after some operation it might be the scenario that t has something. So to avoid that scenario, so now we would start off int I is equals to 0. Now let me show you what really I am doing here. What was the test case? 1100. So it is 1100. So now t is empty at this point. So we would initialize an I at this point. Okay, initialized an I. And then we would keep doing it while the size of the t is less than or equal to the size of this s. This is what s. So we would write that, because we only need while size of t is less than the size of s. If it is less, then only we need to add some characters. If it is equal to that, we don't need to do anything. Okay. So now see, we would have string cn also. Why is this? Because cn would store what needs to be appended. If it is 1, we would append 1 0. If it is 0, we would append 0 1. Cn would just store this. Okay. Then we would start off. So if s of I is equal to the value 1, then cn should be equal to 1 0. If it is not 1, because it is just binary, so we can directly write an if statement. If it is not 1, then it is 0. So cn of I is equals to 0. If cn of I is equals to 0, then it would be 0 1. Okay, simple enough. Now we would be starting off a int j is equals to 0. Okay, so now j is equals to 0 for this s. Okay, now we would say, if we have the bandwidth to just append cn, like let's say we had here, like the string is filled as 1 0 1 0, and then for 0 this is not feasible. So that is why we would have having this. Let's say we have the string till this point, let's say. Okay, so if you observe, let's say the previous string is this. I'm just explaining you this case. So 1 would result to 1 0, and here 1 would result to just 1, and half of this cn should also be skipped. Okay, so to skip the half cn also, we are doing this at while t of size is less than s of size. We are just writing the same condition again in the nested loop, and j is less than 2. Why? Because this j, sorry, I wrote it here, this j is for this, that would result to this. Okay, like j would be used to iterate over cn. Okay, so we would write t dot pushback. We would add this character t dot pushback cn of j. Okay, and after the end we would write s is equal to t. Now every, like after each point, I and then j would increment. That is why we would write here I plus plus. Here we have written I plus plus, and here we would write j plus plus. Okay. After everything, we are saying okay, CS. Now your new string is 101, and the next string would be produced from you. So just we are first from S, with respect to S we are making T. For the next operation, again T is assigned to S, and from again we are doing the same thing. We are building out T with respect to S. Okay. At the end, S would have the string after the modifications. So we would return the value of S of n, that is act. Now let us just see if we are good enough to go or not. Okay, seems correct for the sample test case. Now let us try to submit this and see if we can get an AC or not. Yes, we got an AC. So that's it for today. If you learned the intuition, not just the solution will be present in the editorial. If you learned how to get intuition and you think that yes, I should be appreciated, then justify that by commenting on this video so that I can just smile after seeing the comments. That's it for today. Thank you and have a nice day. This is me, Siddharth Hazra, signing off.